And we are live. Welcome to Josh and Aaron Talk About Stuff. I'm Josh.
I'm Aaron.
If you don't know about the show, we like to talk about stuff, and every week we get to flip flop who's picking the topics. And generally, the first topic is something that we're just really interested in. Second topic, we're also interested in, but it's more like aligned with current events, social,
Social
political,
issues,
yeah.
you know,
But
stuff like that.
before we get
We're
started, though,
multifaceted.
yeah, we just like to chit chat really quick. I got
Yeah.
my first dose of the Moderna
Oh,
vaccine on
nice.
Monday,
Yeah, that's rad, dude. Good for you.
and like I get a flu shot every year,
Sure.
and just depending on the year, your arm might be sore. This one was
Hmm.
like insane sore,
Really. I'll just give you a
and
warning. Oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, and I was just gonna say so like I was on Tuesday, and then Wednesday I was feeling like and yesterday I did not feel good at all. I guess it was just my
Mhm.
body like
Yeah.
creating all the stuff to protect me, but today I feel good.
Yeah. I was gonna say just a warning. The second dose is the one that kicked Stacy's butt.
That's the one I'm worried about, and I've talked to my dad
Yeah.
too. Like
Yeah. Like she actually was like she went to work, man, but she was like, yeah. So
pop
yeah,
like four
that second.
Advil every 4 hours
Yeah,
kind of deal.
that second dose is the tough one. So just heads up.
I
It's
know.
great that you got it though. I'll
Yep,
get it as soon as I'm eligible.
yep.
Maybe I
The
can get
other
the
thing
Johnson and Johnson one and just be done with one shot.
yeah, which that's gonna come up later in the
Oh,
podcast. I
okay.
finally got it on Monday, the deluxe edition of the new Smashing Pumpkin album.
Wow, that's
Uh,
crazy.
Two LPs in there, like a booklet of pictures and stuff, and a lyrical booklet. But I wanted to,
Nice.
just rub it in again that there's still bands out there from the '90s making good music. Other than Pearl Jam and Foo Fighters. But really quick, I just
All
want to
right.
know. So we talked really quick.
Yeah,
We both kind of agree that Melancholy would be their best album. My
yeah,
favorite is Adore. I think yours would be Gish. But we can be objective, like we have a favorite, but we really know what's
yeah.
kind of like the best. Real
Right.
quick, what's your favorite Pearl Jam album? What's their best? And then what's your favorite Foo Fighters? What's their best, in your opinion?
Wow. Um, Pearl Jam. My favorite is, gosh, I go back and forth. It's probably Yield in the long run. I love Yield, and I think Yield is it's either Yield or their best. It's either Yield versus or Vitalogy. It's like I just those all three of those I think are really great albums for one reason or another. And just in terms of like what they do and what they did musically. And then for the Foo Fighters, honestly, my favorite and their best, I think are the same thing. I think it's The Color and the Shape. I still do. I just think The
Yeah.
Color and the Shape is their best album. How about you?
For Pearl Jam, I think my favorite is Versus. I think their best is Yield. I've been thinking about it a lot. Like it was like they had been together for a while now. Most of them, I
Mhm.
know they changed drummers out, but like it was like
Right.
a really good. Here's what we've done. Let's really like see what we can do in the studio. And I think
Yeah.
they did a really good job with that album. I
I
wish I
can
had
listen
it
to
on
it
vinyl. I
endlessly.
don't yet. You do.
Yeah.
But I
I'm
think
gonna have to get another copy because I'm gonna destroy it the way I play it.
right.
Yeah.
And as far as Foo Fighters, I'm pretty sure Color and the Shape is their best. I think my favorite is In Your Honor.
That's a good.
Uh,
That album. I'm gonna tell you, that album is drastically underrated. That was a
the
good album,
10,
and
di- 10, 10 songs of rock on one side, 10 acoustic on the other. I think it was just a really cool. I
it's a
like that album a
great
lot.
album.
It
It's a
is.
great album, and I think that it gets like underappreciated sometimes because of that fact. So
Right.
yeah,
But I do really like There's Nothing Left to Lose, and that's all I'll say about
agreed.
it. It's an underrated album for theirs.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so first topic is I like pretty much any book or show that has to do with space, whether as real as they can make it or far out there.
Me
So
too.
we're going to talk about Star Trek versus Star Wars,
Nice.
the endless debate
The never-ending debate.
which world is better. So just answer that question for me. Which universe do you like better, Star Trek or Star Wars?
I'm. That's like one of the hardest questions for me because I truly do like love them both, and I think they're brilliant. And I think they're brilliant for different reasons. Like Star Wars did an amazing job of creating this like almost fantasy like mythology. Like they tried to science it up with like the Metachlorians and whatever that came in and the prequel trilogy, and they've tried to do some stuff like that, but and it's lasers and this, that, and the other thing, but it's really just space Lord of the Rings, and it's got this deep mythology that goes along with it.
Right.
It's got this deep mythology that goes along with it, and all this stuff, and it's space Lord of the Rings, and it's fantastic because of that. Star Trek, on the other hand, is like much closer to like what you would consider hard sci-fi. Like they're some of the stuff that they do in that is like on the cusp of like things that we really, I think, will eventually be doing, if not doing already. I mean, think about the original Star Trek with Kirk and Bones.
That's it right there.
Bones, beam me up.
Yeah.
It's just like it's a cell phone. That's all it is. I mean, and so I think that so for that aspect, I love the exploration and the kind of the hard sci-fi aspect of Star Trek, the discovering new worlds. But I love the Lord of the Rings in space aspect of Star Wars. How about you?
I choose Team Star Trek, but I like
Got no
Star
argument.
Wars. So when you first see Star Wars, it's like it's cool, but like several
Right.
years ago, this might have been like right around the time The Force Awakens was coming out. So I was like, oh, I
Okay.
got to watch all 6 of them again, right?
Right.
And Angela was kind of interested in watching them. And so we started with A New Hope.
Right.
And honestly, we couldn't finish it. It's not that good of a movie.
Oh, dang. You just opened up like Flame War.
I know. I'm going to.
Right.
But like
You're
we
gonna
were
get
watching
torched.
it, and I'm like, the acting's not that good. I mean, you
Well,
got to
that's
be
for
real,
sure.
man. The acting's not that
Yeah.
good. Like,
No, it's not great. I mean, like
And
Alec
then-
Guinness is good. Alec Guinness is good
I know,
as
but he was
Obi-Wan.
he was just like, just give me the lines. Let me say them in my Alec Guinnessy way, whatever. But like, of course, he's like, only an Imperial stormtrooper has this kind of accuracy. Then the whole rest of the whole series, they can't shoot for shit. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All over the place. Couldn't
Right,
hit
they're
the
everywhere.
broadside
They're
of
everywhere.
a barn. But
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
I do like Empire Strikes Back because they actually developed a story. Nobody saw the twist coming.
Apparently, that's like one of
I
those
am
like
your father. You know.
yeah, that is like maybe like the most ultimately guarded twist like in movie history. Like
Oh, it's the
nobody knew it.
greatest. It's one of the. It's kind of like if you knew
Hey, we should talk about
twist
that.
in The Sixth Sense, then you wrote the movie. Nobody called that one. Nobody
No.
knew that was going to happen in Darth Vader.
Yeah, I talked to you like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, no, you
Lies.
didn't.
Lies.
Lies. That is
Nobody
lies.
What should we talk about?
We should talk about movie twists.
Okay, that'll be
Yeah.
in an episode coming up soon.
Yeah.
I like that Star Trek takes place in our galaxy.
Yeah.
I mean, freaking Captain Kirk is from Iowa.
Right. No, it's great.
I like. It's funny you mentioned like Star Wars is like Lord of the Rings in space. There's like the one evil ancient enemy, Emperor, and then Sauron. They come up with a lot of bad guys in Star Trek, and I like they're explorers. Although like not unlike America, they get involved in stupid stuff. But
Okay.
I
Why
like
are you
how-
guys getting mixed up in this now?
you know what I mean? But I
Right.
like how I don't know. I just think it just feels more real to me.
Yeah, no, you are like 100% spot on with that interpretation of it. And I'll be on, I look at it from kind of like my youthful lens of growing up. Like I loved Star Wars. That was like my introduction to science fiction and movies was Star Wars. I mean, when it came out in 77, I was 2, so obviously I didn't see it then, but like a couple of years later, like my first like vivid Christmas memory was getting like the Death Star station and an X-Wing fighter and like Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Darth Vader, Princess Leia action figures that, good Lord, if I still had those things, but regardless.
Yep.
And I had all, and I it's just like, it was, I was in love with it. I just pulled it in. My dad grew up with Star Trek. Because the original Star Trek came out like in what
66, I think
66?
66, 67, and went for like 3 seasons.
something like that. My dad was like 18,
Yeah.
and like he loved it. He grew up with it, and then I it was really funny. One summer we were living up in the mountains of North Carolina. We had no TV reception, no cable, but like the previous couple of years, my dad had been taping VHS. Star Trek episodes, and he had the entire run of the original
awesome.
Star Trek on VHS
That's
taped.
cool.
And I spent the summer watching Star Trek, and that was when I fell in love with Star Trek. Was
Right.
because I was like, oh, I had to.
My
watch Star Trek.
dad was he would tape the Next Generation all the time.
Mhm.
And then kids don't know today the pain of putting in the tape and setting it on the VCR and like the channel was correct. And God forbid if you tape over one of dad's
Oh my gosh!
tapes, right? But I think also Star Trek is like a much more. There's movies and there's TV shows. Like I've recently started watching Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, okay.
It's like a movie budget. It's amazing. I love
That's
it.
cool. I'll have to
And
check
it's
it
like a
out.
prequel to the original Star Trek series.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Um,
No, Star Trek has a really rich mythology too, as a thing. It's just a different type of mythology.
but I like the new movies that J.J. Abrams did. I think he
Ooh,
did
they're
better
fantastic.
with those than he did with Star Wars. Because like we're watching Force Awakens, and I'm like, I've seen this movie already. It's just a bigger, better version of A New Hope.
New Hope.
I mean, Star Wars is cool. I thought the second one, The Last Jedi, was like way over my head.
I mean,
Third one, they kind of redeemed themselves, but I just like Star Trek better. I like the gadgets. I like Spock. The Klingons. I
the
just like
Romulans, the Klingons, the Borg. No,
all of it's just cooler. I think in my
no,
opinion.
dude, you're not gonna get any argument from me. In fact, now I feel like I need to go watch some Star Trek because now you got me like thinking about Star Trek.
I mean,
because
there's all
I
kinds
do.
of
I love
shows.
it.
Yep, there's
Huh?
Voyager. There's Voyager.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Deep Space Nine, Next Generation. Now they just came out with Picard, set after
Right.
the last movie that he did.
Yeah.
I like. Do you have like a favorite? Like, would you would you choose Captain Kirk or Team Picard? Team Kirk or Team Picard?
You know, as much as like Kirk is the classic, in terms of the TV shows, it's got to be Picard. I just think that Next Generation, they took it just that one step further. You know, there was always this little element of cheesiness.
Well, I just
about
meant like if you're in
the
a
original.
situation.
Oh, like who do you
And
want captaining you?
Who do you want to be following?
Oh man, I don't know
Kirk
then, man.
or
I guess
Picard?
kind of think I want like Chris Pine as Kirk, man. That guy like just ready to wreck shop and go. I mean,
Yeah, like Picard's cool and he's more calm. Kirk is really more like, what do they call it? Played from the hip. Shoot
Yeah,
from
he's
the
kind
hip
of a shoot
kind
from
of
the hip
guy.
kind of
But
character,
he
yeah.
does listen to suggestions and stuff from
right.
Bones and Spock.
Bones.
Yep. Do you have a favorite
Jim.
Star Trek movie of the original crew?
Of the original crew?
Like,
You know what?
do
The
you
one
like
where they go
Wrath
back
of
in time.
Khan?
The one where they go back in time. is Voyage Home.
when they with the
No,
whales.
the
Yeah,
whales.
That's the one you like?
I love that one.
It's cool.
It's
like,
cool. It's just I
yeah.
love that one. I mean, Captain, there'll be whales in the hold. You know, I mean, it's just like it's great stuff. And let's since we're on that for a second, I do love is it, God, Oliver Pegg, Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg, yeah.
Simon
Scotty.
Pegg as
Yeah.
Scotty. You know,
He does a good job. They did a really
does-
good job with the new
Yeah.
ones.
when they put the Beastie Boys on Sabotage at the end of the one, are they playing classical music? Like that's like
Yeah.
the best line ever.
Yeah, that's
So,
funny. That's funny.
how about you? Do you have a favorite of the original films?
I think Wrath of Khan for
That's
that
everybody's
group.
favorite. No, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing either. It's like
whoa.
no, don't
Okay.
get me wrong. That's like everybody loves Wrath of Khan.
But I
And
like
I need to go back and watch Wrath of Khan because I think the first time I saw Wrath of Khan I was like 7 and it scared me to death.
but like Wrath of Khan, Searcher Spock, and Voyage Home is like a 3-movie story arc.
Yeah, it kind of is.
But I do like one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Trek is in the final frontier, which is the 5th one, where God has been calling to them. And they're in there where they're in that final area in space, and he's like, I need a starship, and Kirk's like, excuse me,
Why would God
what does God
need
need
a
with a starship?
Yeah.
And McCoy's like, you shouldn't be questioning the Almighty. He was like, but if he's the most power, why does God need it? That's like one of the greatest.
That is that's fantastic, and that is like
Only
that is
Kirk
absolutely
would
you're
do
right.
that.
Yeah, that is like one of the most fantastic lines. It's like, excuse me, why would God need a starship?
Yes, that
Jim,
was,
you don't question the Almighty.
Yeah, that's one of the best lines ever. I like it.
It really is.
As far as
Why
the
God need a
Picard
starship?
movies, I like First Contact the best with the
I haven't
board.
seen those as much. I need to go back and watch them.
And
I'm
then-
kind of little bit out of those.
The newest ones, Into Darkness, I think is the best one. It's like the
Yeah.
re-envisioning of Khan stuff. But
Oh yeah,
as far as Star Wars goes, I think Empire Strikes Back is the best one. I didn't hate the prequels, starting with Attack of the Clones, and then whatever the third one was called.
Revenge
But
of
the
the
first one.
Sith.
Do you ever watch the Goldbergs? You ever seen that TV show?
Oh yeah.
So there's this. Oh no. So there was a spin-off movie show called Schooled that took
Okay,
place in the
yeah.
90s, and one of the episodes was about attack. What was the first one? Phantom Menace coming
Phantom
out, right?
Menace. Yeah.
And this teacher was super Star Wars guy, and he was hyping everybody up to go see it. And they went, and then after it, they were like, "How'd you like it?" And they were like, "I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about trade unions," because it was really like, it wasn't what it should have been.
No, it was definitely a misfire.
Yeah, and then like one thing I never understood is like George Lucas going back and like redoing and adding all that extra stuff into
That's the worst thing he's done. That's the absolute worst thing he's done.
Yeah, but as far as the new ones go, I did like Adam Driver as Rilo,
He was good.
whatever
He's
his
a
name
talented
is,
actor.
Kylo
Yeah,
Riley,
Kylo Ren.
Kylo
He's a
Ren,
talented dude.
whatever his name is. It was cool. I liked the story was kind of cool, but it was nice that they brought a lot of people back in the end. But I would rather watch Star Trek. That's me. All right,
Fair.
so
Fair.
all right,
And I just, for me, it's whatever mood I'm in. And now it's a Star Trek mood, thanks to you. So
good.
Star Trek.
Watch if you can. Watch Star Trek Discovery. It's in they
Will
have
do.
3 seasons. It's really
Cool.
cool. I like it. All right, so moving on to topic number 2 is going to be a continuation of last week's topic, Christianity,
Wait.
politics.
Why would God need a starship?
Yeah, exactly. Why would he? He's God, right? He doesn't need
Right?
a starship.
Exactly.
So I guess I felt I was all over the place last week. Well, one, I felt like, I don't want to offend anybody, but I can still speak my mind.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm not like, and one thing I'm not doing is going out there and telling people, well, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I can think that you're wrong, but if I'm not going out there I'm not spreading it out there, trying to convince people, because people will believe what they want to believe, and that's fine. But
Absolutely.
the problem I have with religion is when you start to have it seep into everyday life that affects other people. And I really think religion and Christianity, the problems I think, well, let me back it up. I think the 2 biggest issues with religion, Christianity, as far as like public policy and government, because that was what we were trying to talk about last week.
Yeah, it's kind of like
the overreach boils down to 2 issues: abortion and gay marriage.
I think you're right.
And yeah, I know that in the Bible it says marriage should be between a man and a woman, but marriage is a state institution.
Right.
You have to get a marriage license to be legally married. Okay, so in my opinion, faith should not be involved in that decision. The state gets to decide you can get married, and we're supposed to be a country that does not discriminate against anybody based on race, religion, sexual preference, what have you.
Right.
But if you're a church and I guess if you choose you don't want to marry 2 gay people, I guess I don't want anything, but you don't have to go to church to get married. I
No,
didn't.
absolutely not.
Right. So it's just the term marriage, as I guess, is generally associated with going to a church, and it's a religious ceremony. It is a religious ceremony, but in the eyes of the law in a country, it's a state thing. Right.
In the eyes of the law, all you got to do is go stand before JP and say, hey,
Right.
I'm here, I'm with her, and she's with me, or he's with me, I'm with him, or she's with me and I'm with her. And the JP goes, cool, done. You're married.
As long as you're not related, you can get married.
Yeah. And so absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of people that make it, a religious ceremony based upon their personal beliefs, but it is by default a secular ceremony, because by default it is just a legal binding of 2 individuals.
Right. Another thing that I do have a problem with is, if we've spoken about this before, if you're a business open to the public, you are there, you need to serve everybody.
Yeah.
Unless your life is being threatened at that moment, you cannot discriminate. And like
Yep.
it really goes. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. The baker who
Absolutely.
bakes cakes. It was in Colorado. Said that he wasn't going to bake a cake for a gay couple that was going to get married, and it
Right.
went to the Supreme Court. And I'm just like, you're a public business. If you want to be a private business that like you have to like kind of like a club, like you have to be a member, then I guess you can set rules. But if you're going to be a public facility open to the public, you serve everybody.
Mhm.
Because
I mean,
there's no difference than saying, well, I'm not going to serve you because you're gay. Then if we're in the 60s, well, I'm not going to serve you because you're not white.
right. And you
There's no
can't do that.
difference. Right.
Right. That's very true. I mean, it's very true. You can't deny someone entry because of the color of their skin. And
Right.
so you can't deny someone service because of the color of their skin. So no, you're very true. And you're very right on that.
As far as like abortion goes, that would be you're pro-life, you're anti-abortion. But like,
Absolutely.
if you're going to be pro-life, then be pro-life for everything.
Right.
If you're pro-life, you should be anti-death penalty.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should be for pro-life. Does that just mean you're born and that's it? But like, what about quality of life?
That's exactly it. And I think that's where
Yeah.
a lot of people go to. And I think it's a very fair statement. It's like if we're going to dictate, that aspect of people's lives as well, then we need to be willing to take care of people too once they're here. You can't just be like, okay, now you're here, you're on your own.
And isn't there a big theme with Jesus and redemption?
Redemption and honestly, the biggest thing that I'd be remiss to try and quote directly. It's just,
I just meant like, so if you commit a crime and go to prison, shouldn't you?
Oh, shouldn't be redemption. Yeah, absolutely.
So like we don't need to like just throw away the
repentance.
key, lock them up and throw it away. We need to try to saying
We
like
should take care of people. We need to try and rehabilitate them and take care of them. Absolutely, that's a huge thing in the Bible. That, and then also going back to what we're saying, about we're not going to we're going to get you here, but we're not going to take care of you when you are. It's
right.
One of the disciples asked him, what's the most important thing? And he says, love thy neighbor as thyself, and take care of each other.
And like,
is what he says.
Yeah, and like as far as abortion goes, like I, in this midlife crisis I'm having about what happens after you die and when does consciousness, what is it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm like for or against it. I think we've had this conversation too, but I'm not going to get in the way of your choice to have an abortion.
Yeah, no, we have
if I'm
talked about
against it.
this briefly.
Yeah.
We have
It's
talked
just
about
a weird thing to think about, like a consciousness. When does it start? Where does it come from? Is it from a higher power or whatever? But like, nobody should be. I don't think the state should be stepping in to control. Like, because if you're going to be like freedom and all that stuff, what goes on in someone's bedroom is their business, as long as abuse is not happening. Mm-hmm. Same thing with an abortion. So I guess I'm pro-choice, but I just don't know if like it's like actually what people should be doing. But that's not my decision to make.
Oh, that's a fair mentality to have.
Yeah, it seems like I have a lot of problems with religion. I just don't like when organizations get too big and they start to control people. One thing that like bugs me is like people of a religion will turn their back on somebody because they don't believe what you believe in a heartbeat. Right. I watched this documentary several years ago about the Catholic child abuse scandal that had been going on for years, millennia, right?
Yeah.
And this guy in the 70s was telling his mom the priest did such and such and such and such. She wouldn't believe him. She wouldn't believe her own son.
Right.
Because a priest wouldn't do these kind of things. And how dare you speak ill of the priest in our neighborhood? And I'm like, how could that, like the own mother?
Yeah.
That kind of thing just like
blinders.
It blew my mind that you would not believe blinders. Your own son over this crap happening. And which leads me to one thing I wanted to say. So I guess the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been approved, right?
Yeah. I think they're shipping it out. They've shipped it out.
The Archdiocese in New Orleans.
Okay.
The guy in charge of all that told his prisoners basically, don't take this because it is morally compromised due to links to the cells being derived from aborted fetal tissue, which is not entirely true. They have been, the cells that they use to make it, they've been reproducing them for like 30 years. And that was just like, you're telling your folks not to get it because of this. And it's just like, come on now. And so I don't know, man. Like, I think there's just, people need to have more common sense.
That, sir,
You know what
is
I mean?
a
Like,
sadly lacking aspect of much of our society, though.
another thing I don't understand is like, if the Bible, there's demons and
Right.
angels. So why not believe in Lord of the Rings? Or fairies and ghouls and goblins and trolls and all this stuff. Like, okay, but then people go, well, that's how I was brought up. I hate that argument. Because you know what? A lot of people were brought up that slavery was a good thing. So I'm tired of that argument. Like,
yeah.
And nobody wants to like challenge their own faith. I think if you challenge it, it'll make it stronger.
It will.
Or you'll see a different side. Like,
or you'll see the other side. You've got two options, but neither one is bad. It'll either be stronger or you'll see something differently. And neither one of those is a bad thing. Right. It's not bad to have it become stronger for you, but it's also not bad for you to go, I need to rethink this.
Right. And like, I don't know. I feel like I know many people, most of the people I know are religious in some sort of way. And I'm not like, oh, I can't be associated with them.
Right.
I kind of feel on the other side, though, like if people know that you're agnostic or atheist, they almost don't want to have anything to do with you.
You're not wrong.
So like, come on, man. Another thing that I've asked you before, as far as like religion goes, is like there were many religions that happened or were created long before Judaism and Christianity.
Absolutely.
Why are they the wrong religion? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. What defines one religion as the one true
and
one?
Like it's age old discussion now. Gandhi can't get into heaven because he's not Christian, but Hitler can.
Right. I know.
Come on now. Like, that does that make any sense? Like, what did he say? Well, that's just God's plan.
No. Actually, my dad was very forward thinking about it. And I was like, Dad, what about this? What about Gandhi? He was like, son, I got to believe.
Good people get in.
He's like, I got to believe God's got a plan for that. Don't worry.
Right.
And and like, it was like, it was a very like, he was.
So they don't get into real heaven. They get into like heaven light. How's that work? You know what I mean? Like, you don't get the full Caesar's.
You don't get the full package. You don't get the full package, but it's not bad though. It's not bad. All right.
So living now,
you don't get the hot tub. you don't get the hot tub.
Running water.
But you do have running water.
So the God's plan aspect is always mind-boggling to me. Like, he has a plan, even if he doesn't reveal it to you.
Right.
Well, that which brings me to like, well, then we don't really have free choice. There's no free will. If it's already mapped out, the choices I make, I'm not really making them on my own. They're already made for me.
That's a whole other discussion for another time. The idea of like free will versus fate. They're dictated like.
Is it a common belief that God knows everything that ever happened?
Absolutely.
And it will happen.
Absolutely. It's like one of the great paradoxes of Christianity, if you ask me, and one that I always thought was interesting as a kid growing up. And it's the idea that, God knows everything. He's got a plan, and yet we have free will. It's like,
well, that isn't it's round peg, square hole kind of thing, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I get, like, if you want to be a person of faith,
be a person.
I'm not stopping you.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying? But like, you can't enforce your values on the public as a whole because you don't agree with the public as a whole or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You don't, just because you don't agree with the public as a whole doesn't give you a right to push those views on everybody else.
Plus, your religion should be a personal thing.
Absolutely.
That should be, you don't need to be flaunting it.
Yeah, I agree.
But on the other hand, I don't think secular people don't need to be stripping you of your right to worship as well. We can live in harmony.
We can live in harmony. but we got it. But we each got to back up and just take a
Right.
step back.
Like, if you want to practice your faith in your place of worship, fine.
Fine.
But if you bring your faith to the public square and you're open for business to the public, you're going to have to deal with
what comes
people
next.
who aren't your faith. All right. Anyway.
Right.
Any last thoughts about religion in general?
No, about religion or Star Trek? No, except that they're very closely linked. Why would God need a starship? It's stuck in my head now. It's stuck in my head.
All right, good discussion. And I'm not against people disagreeing with me, because like I feel like if people disagree with me and give me their opinion, it makes me think about my own, and either it will reinforce it or it will
open you up to thought.
Open me up to, because there's only a few things in my life that I'm like hard set, like I'll never change. Most things I'm like fluid.
I'm willing to think about this with you. Give me a good reason to think. We'll think together.
Yeah. So it's Team Star Trek all day. Captain Kirk. So what we're gonna be doing is doing 2 a week starting next week. So tune in for that. Aaron gets to pick next week, Monday or Tuesday, one of those days.
Right on.
And have a good listen. Let us know what you think. All right, talk to you later.
Later. Bye.